Seems to be a new Zoom thing. Has anyone else noticed this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and who has to ask, because individual pupils then have to give consent. Do you get to consent as a matter of interest? Do you have to do anything or?
I just asked them if they want it.
Yeah, sure. But you're not right now, your computer isn't asking you to give consent to me recording.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, you're all assenting.
Recording. Oh, scheiße, das geht nicht.
Bingo?
Ja, das geht ja.
Right, whose is that?
Ich glaube, willst du rausgehen vielleicht? Nee, ich meine mit dem, wir müssen es auf einem Computer machen. Es wird nicht funktionieren.
Hello.
Hello, sorry, that was us. We were trying to work with 2 computers in one room. That wasn't such a good idea. Sorry.
Well, if you put one of them onto video, but have the sound off at the.
You think it's just the sound?
I just put myself on mute, but it was interfering.
Try switching it off in the settings. Try switching off audio in the settings.
Ach so, ja genau, dass du sozusagen stumm schalten machst.
Ja, habe ich ja.
Ach, hast du.
Easier if you have a computer.
Okay, we try again. Be prepared.
Fingers in ears.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Go into settings, bottom left.
Yeah.
Yeah. And seeing if you can switch it off at settings. Okay, how's that?
Yeah, it's still like an echo. It's just if we both mute, it doesn't work.
Yes, absolutely. You need to be able to talk.
Well, if we both mute, then it's fine. But if one is
Yeah, so for talking we go together, and for
Yeah.
you have to kind of be next to each other then.
yeah, but if we mute for the then it's
okay.
possible.
No.
Then each has his own screen and her own screen.
Yeah.
Good.
You'll have to do very synchronized
Yeah.
together. Called Alexander or something. Instead of called a ballet. Right. Okay. Good. So Rebecca hopefully will arrive, and she hasn't said she isn't. And Irene's usually here. So has anyone got any questions from last time or comments? Marie.
I've used the knees away and the arms and stopping for my dance exercise class with my seniors, and it really is good for them. They like it.
Yes. So Fred Astaire won the day after all, or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. Anyone else like to comment? No. Right. Well, let's get moving then. Well, I'm going to actually start lying down today. I thought we'll start with a ground floor warm up to get the psoas and iliacs and so on working, and then come back to standing. Okay, so starting in semi-supine. And just finding spatial awareness, looking up at the ceiling, finding your vestibular directions. Just tracking your eyes around the ceiling gently. Being aware of the distance to the ceiling and the distance to your feet. That's a different direction. And we've got the up down, of course, is now horizontal, and the front back is now vertical, and the side side. And as you're tracking and coming into the vestibular directions and the awareness of where your feet are and where your hips are and how far they are from your head, you can start to be aware of your body on the floor without getting drawn into it. And the fact that it is breathing, just allowing it to be breathing as it is. Maybe on the out breath, just send your leg away, extend it away down. Being aware of it getting longer. And on the next out breath, bring it back in again. And again, taking your time and doing the other one. Keeping the mind in the brain and letting the body get longer and longer and longer. And then letting it just fold in again. And just being aware of the out breath falling back with gravity. And the various layers of the belly falling back. Just falling back with gravity towards the spine. Being aware of the underneath layers of the belly wall, falling back from deep inside the pubic bone. So that you're aware of that deepest part of the rectus abdominis coming back and up. And you're also aware of the internal obliques, just widening out. Back and up and widening. As the belly flattens back and up on the out breath. Back and up and wide on the out breath. And for a moment, just take the pubicoccygeals ever so gently forwards so that the body starts to uncurl ever so slightly. And again, on the out breath, we're not going to go into the full bridge, just a little bit. Just to be aware of that out breath, just lengthening back and up and widening back and up. And then letting it uncurl again back onto the ground. So bringing the hips back to the ground now. Just being aware of that back and up. And now finding the psoas deeper inside, the guts falling back and up. And the guts falling back and up, and the psoas drawing back and up. And on the in-breath, going down into the pelvic floor. And on the out-breath, just letting it all draw back and up along the spine, following the diaphragm which is coming up. Down and wide into the pelvic floor and into the back of the hips on the in-breath, and back and up on the out-breath. Down and wide into the pelvic floor, and then again do a little bridge, just letting the pubicoccygeal come forwards in opposition to the psoas coming back. Just to let the hips uncurl off the floor again. Not a huge way, just a little way. And then just being aware again on the next out breath of it falling back. So it's like hollowing the stomach. Just letting the belly fall up and back. The in-breath widens into the back. And on the next out breath, again, letting the hips come back to the floor as the psoas comes back and up. And on the next out breath, just use the psoas to fold one leg over the body. And then the other leg over the body. So both legs are drawn up over the hips, holding them lightly with the hands. And again on the out breath, just letting them be drawn in towards the body. And on the in breath, letting them come away a little bit. And on the out breath, using the psoas to draw them in towards the body. In breath lengthens down into the hips, and the out breath just pulls the legs into the body. So it's a very light contact with the hands. Just letting the psoas activate to draw the legs in. And then keeping that activation, just gently lowering the legs again one at a time, keeping that activation of the psoas. And now finding the obliques, just finding that widening of the lower body, right into the groins, right above between the iliac spines and the pubic bone. That widening into one side. And if you just widen into one side, then the body will come into a lying twist. The leg will come over to the side. And then thinking into the other leg, the other hip, the upper hip, to take you up again. That's it. So we're just giving a pull into the left groin. The internal oblique is working, and it will take the left leg. We'll roll the hips to the left. The left leg will come towards the floor, and the right leg will follow. And then breathe in, and then on the next out breath, take the right internal oblique, pull the right internal oblique, and that will pull you back to center. And if you do that again, but now think as the right internal oblique pulls the hips over to the right, the left internal oblique is also working to stabilize the system. So the right internal oblique is pulling the body onto its side, but the left one is stabilizing the hips so that that top hip doesn't collapse over onto the lower one. It stays stable and the lower back stays wide. And then reverse the polarities to come up again. And again, as the left internal oblique pulls you up, the right one is maintaining stability. And go the other way. The left one is going to pull to the left, but the right one is going to stabilize the movement so that the right hip doesn't just collapse down, the upper leg doesn't just collapse towards the floor. If you want, you can take your head in the other direction. And the in-breath widens all the way across the back. So that also is putting a widening in. And then again, using the right obliques to come back up, and the left one is stabilizing it. Let's do one more. So the right obliques are pulling the right leg across, the left one is stabilizing, and the head is going to the left. In-breath widens everything. And then the left obliques pull everything up. The right one is stabilizing it, everything flattened onto the floor. And then the left one pulls you over to the left. The right one stabilizes it and the head goes to the right. The in-breath widens everything. And then the right internal oblique pulls it all back up and the eyes bring you back to center. Okay, so now let's come back to standing. And let's just stabilize everything. Thinking screwing the ankle back and up, iliac spines back and up, and ribs at the back of the armpit up and off the sacrum. So let's just do those three first. We've got screwing the ankle back and up, iliac spines back and up, which is going to lift the IT band up, and then the ribs at the back of the armpit back and up. So if you just give a 1, 2, 3 on those, and we just stabilize the lower body in one go. You can add in pubicoccygeals or what you want. And then we can add in the tips of the elbows are going down away from the top of the sternum going up. And the inside of the thumb is coming down away from the top of the sternum going up. So we can just add in those as well. Now, keeping all that stability, let's do a bow. So for those who don't know the bow, we're just going to lift one leg behind and catch it. And then I'm going to keep all this, because this can easily pull us into a forward bend. So really keeping the iliacs and the ribs back as you're standing like this, and the pubicoccygeals forwards. And then start to use your hand to stretch the foot behind you. But what we're not doing is displacing the hip. We don't want any of this happening. So the hip, it is just being drawn behind you, which will limit its movement, and that's all right. And then, if you can, keep everything on a stable base and let yourself tilt over into a lovely balletic gesture and being aware of stabilizing through everything. There we go, pulling with the back hand to pull that back leg behind and just breathing with it. That's it. Anadora, see if you can pull the foot away from the body a bit with your back hand. That's it. Yes, that's right. And then coming back. Nice. And let's do that with the other leg. So again, just stabilize again, just stand for a moment and maybe give a 3, 1, 2, 3, because these moves are asymmetrical, so they tend to pull us off guard a bit. And then just lifting the back leg behind. That's it. And then again, stabilize. The hips are staying back, the iliacs are staying back, the pubicoccygeals are coming forwards. Anyone with balance issues can always hold on to something. If you're okay, then lift one hand above your head, again being careful not to let anything arch. And then start stretching that back leg behind you, but without letting it displace. You're not going into a great bow in the back. And then let yourself tilt from the iliacs and the hips, and seeing if you can stretch that back leg more behind you, but without displacing the hip. And just breathing there. And coming up again. Super. One more try. So again, just standing and giving it a 3 again. 1, 2, 3. 3, just to stabilize everything. And just lifting the leg behind. If our quads are long enough, we should be able to lift the back leg and catch it with the hand without any springing or displacing, but most of us can't. It really shows up how tight, certainly my quads still are. And then lifting the arm again without any displacing of the body, beginning to stretch that leg behind you with the foot, with the hand, and then letting it all tilt. Keeping breathing. And coming back up again, you're all wonderfully rock steady. Fantastic. And the other leg again, just give a 3. 1, 2, 3. Lifting the foot. Stabilizing everything. Lifting the hand. Beginning to stretch the leg behind with the arm. And then tilting. And breathing. And coming back. Right, let's just do a few lunges. Going to just loosen everything up after that. So we've done these before, and you're just going to, again, stabilize everything and then step forward into a lunge and pushing back again. But those who can, do it with a front twist. So as you drop into the lunge, so you're twisting with the upper body over the front leg. So it just adds a bit more challenge to it. And we're going to do 4 times on one side and then 4 times on the other. So off you go in your own pace. Keeping everything stabilized. And then if you've got the puff for it, do some going backwards as well. And when you go backwards, again, you're still going over the front leg for your twist. And let's come on, keep the hamstring stabilized. Everything stays stabilized. Okay. I'm aware I haven't got that much puff today. So, does anyone know what a stitty is? It's a yoga term. So I'll show you what a stitty is. And so it's basically out of a forward bend. And let's just, if we stabilize, bring the arms up. But as one comes down, first we want to come into flat back, as we know by keeping iliacs back. But then the question is, how do we get the head to the knees? And I think the more we can widen across the deep hip rotators, the iliac spines, the ribs at the back of the armpit and across the front, the deeper into the forward bend we'll go. So once you're there, This time I want you to put your fingertips to the ground. So you might have to bend your knees a bit to do that, and that's fine. And then the stitty is from this curved over place. What you're doing is you're using your vestibular directions in order to bring the head leading the upper body to straight. And then you can use all this back and up at the iliacs and the psoas to take yourself back into the forward bend. And we're going to do that a few times, just finding that extension of the head leading the neck, leading the upper body into a straight, and then coming back by finding the iliacs and the ribs coming back, which you might well find straightens your legs more. And then when we finally come out of it, we can bring the fingers to the ears, and again, find that straightening of the body to bring us into flat back, and then coming up. So let's all do it together. So again, stabilize first. Give yourself a 3. 1, 2, 3. And bringing the arms up without any displacement of the body. And then using so the hands are coming right overhead if they can, and then using the iliacs back, the psoas back and up in order to come into the flat back. So the head stays between the ears, the fingertips are leading out, and the whole body comes into a nice flat back. And now think that widening from the flat back, think the widening at the iliacs, even in the deep hip rotators, in the ribs, at the back of the armpits, and even across between the front of the shoulders, thinking all that widening, well, the head leads you down into the forward bend. And as I say, bend your knees as much as you need in order to get your knuckles to the floor. And now find your vestibular directions in that position. So your crown is going down to the floor, and your forward and back line from the occiput is coming out. And then use that crown line and that back of the occiput line, just as we did when we came out of child's pose, in order to lead the upper body into extension. And then coming back again. That's it. And then coming back using your iliac spines and your ribs back and up to bring you back into the forward bend. And just see whether your head comes a little closer to the knees and your legs come a little straighter. And let's do it again, just using that crown leading and the back of the occiput leading to lead the spine, the upper spine into extension. That looks good. And then use your iliacs and your ribs coming back and up and the psoas coming back and up in order to bring everything back. And now let's come out of that by sending the fingertips away from you until the elbows come between either side of your ears, and then let the head again lead the body up into the flat back. So it can slowly lead the whole body into extension and so come out. Okay. Right, let's not do that again, but let's move on, because what I want to do now is the archer. So this is a bit like when we did the McDonald's lunge, and again I'll demonstrate it first. So you're going to turn one leg out. So I'll demonstrate going forwards to start with. So from feet aligned, I'm going to turn one foot slightly to the side, but not, of course, let that throw my balance. I'm going to keep stabilized. The weight comes onto that leg. Now I'm going to bend that leg slightly in order to do a step forwards. And I'm going to step straight forwards with that leg, because so often when people step forwards, they cross over. And now actually I've got a very unstable base. So I'm going to make sure that I take the foot forwards so that the back foot is turned out, the front foot is straight, but that leaves the hips on an angle. And so what we're going to do is think the big toes into the floor and align up the deep front line up either hip and also up the IT bands to the iliac spines. And if we take both those lines back and up, you'll find it will bring the hips round so that your hips will be square, and you'll get a really strong sense up your big toes, up the deep front line, and the hips square, and again a real sense of the outer lines working too. Everybody okay so far? So I'm just going to go side on for you now so that you can see what's happening. And from there, we're going to come forwards on the front knee, but it would be very easy, like in the lunge, to just come forwards on the front knee. And actually we want to be staying back. So we want to be staying back with this back leg, both down the outside to the outside of the heel and down the inside to the big toe on the inside of the heel, and instead using the inside of the back leg to come forwards so that the front leg comes to vertical, but it doesn't come any further forwards. And the weight is now still equally in both legs. That's it. So when we do that, we're going to bring the arms up. Now we're going to use that groin movement that we've just been working, the psoas coming up and back and the groin thinking back and up, in order to come forwards into flat back. And as we do that, the front leg actually straightens again. So as you're drawing back and up, the drawing back and up draws that front leg straight again. There we are in forward bend. And now think that widening to come into a forward bend over the front leg, seeing if you can bring your knee to your head to your knee and your feet to your ankles. Sorry, your hands to your ankles, your feet. Keep those knees, keep those hips square. And now use your stitty, your fingers leading and your stitty, in order to come back up to flat back and then go down again. Again, thinking the widening and come back down. And then again, think your stitty, lengthening everything away. And then when you get to flat back, as you come up, the back knee sends back, the back heel sends back, the front knee sends forwards, and you can come back as you come up into the archer with the bent knee. So as you come up from the flat back, your front knee comes forwards again, in other words. So you come back to the archer. And then from there, you step back. Okay, any questions before we have a full go at that? Or is everybody okay?
And can you do the last part again, please?
The last part, so from the over here, you're doing the stitty. That makes sense, doesn't it, to come to flat back? You could then bring your hands round if you like, because it's quite a strain to have them forwards. And then you're going to use your iliacs back to start to bring the body up out of, but as I do that, the knee comes back to bend. So it's that. Yeah? And then you can push off to come back. Any other questions?
And in between, when you bend over, you do a stitty one time in between?
Yes, I just did it twice.
Yeah, and the front knee stays straight?
The front knee stays straight through that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the hands on the ground, or do they lift?
The hands,
doing
you can use the hands on the ground.
Yeah.
For stability.
Yeah.
If you've really got strong muscles, you can bring your arms up as well. But this increases the weight into the back. So that's for the strong, to bring the hands up as well. So if you, as I say, if you've got the strength, have the hands out in front of you. If you haven't, either leave them on the ground or take them to the side. So it certainly took me a while to build up the back muscles for this one, because the back is actually lifting weight in this point. Yes, good point. Thank you. Anyone else? Everybody else okay? And let's have a go on the other leg. So it's this point. It's my left leg. I don't know which leg it is for you. Going out to the turning out. So if you lift the big toe and swivel the big toe out 45 degrees, and then stabilizing the pubococcygeal still and the iliacs sort of, we didn't give a 1, 2, 3 before we started. But so give a 1, 2, 3 from wherever you are. And then it's quite nice on this one just to bend the back leg, and then you can step forwards, making sure that the foot steps straight out, they don't cross, and then you're on 2 straight legs. And then send the big toes into the ground, and then send this up and back up the deep front line and also up the IT band, so that the back hip comes forwards and the front hip comes back, and you bring the hips square. So you should be able to really feel that inside heel driving back and down, and the front heel driving forwards. Is you might really get that sense, and it may take a while to find that. And now let's bring the front leg, the arms up as we send the front leg forwards, but not losing that weight out of the back heel. That's it. So really stay back in the back leg. Now, thinking back in the iliacs, start going over into your flat back, and the front leg will straighten. You're stretching back and up the inside of the front leg, and you're going down into the flat back. Just stay there a moment to breathe, and then go down into the forward bend. Again, thinking wide in the iliacs and the ribs at the back of the armpit and the front of the chest, and so that your knee is towards your head's towards the knee. Now come into the stitty. Use your hands if you want, or leave them out to the side, or leave them on the ground, whichever suits, to come back to flat back, and then come down again by thinking that widening back and up. And again, we're going to do another one. Send the head away, come up into flat back, keeping breathing, and then back and up to take it all back over again. And then sending the fingers away again, whether in front or out to the side, to come back to the flat back. And then as you pull back in the iliac strongly, the torso straightens, the front leg comes forwards, so that you come back to the archer position and step back. Good. One more time. Any more questions? Hannes, you okay? Micah.
Machst du deins aus? To come up from the forward bend with the fingers elongating forwards. It's really challenging to keep the balance in the. Shit, it doesn't work.
It's very challenging to keep the balance. I say it took me months at yoga to get this, if not several years. But then it was before I knew all these muscles to engage. It is very challenging to keep the balance, but there's a lot of challenge in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do what you need. It's easier to start with to take the hands out to the side. It's very challenging to take the hands forwards.
Yeah. Well, actually, to come
keeping those the inside and the outside of the legs engaged and those hips square, and that will help keep the balance.
Yeah, it's kind of it's. I just closed this one.
There's a lot of challenge in this, so yeah, to say, is everybody coping all right, or is this too challenging? Yeah. So
I have a question.
yes, Alex.
I have a question, and when I come up in the flat back, this leg is bent. Always is bent, or
well, it comes back to when we come back up to the flat back.
Yes.
Straight, and then when we come up to straight, it bends.
Okay.
It's only in that last bit that the leg bends.
Okay. So in the first part, the leg is straight when I come up.
Yes, that's right. When you're going between the here and here, it's straight.
Okay.
And then only as you come up does it bend again. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, willing to have another go at it? It's a very challenging one, this one. Micah, yes.
Just have one more question. Now I'm a little bit less abgelenkt, confused. So when I come up again from stitty, or how you call that, when I come back into flat back, it's only, so you think only like the iliacs back and all this engaged, which is stabilizing the
Yeah.
leg, because it's kind of killing my left outer hip when I come up. It's really, yeah, but maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Just keep sending that outer hip back and down. So you're really working that outer hip. If that hip starts to destabilize, it'll do all sorts of things. So this preparation that we do where we engage these is actually part of the key to it. So all the time you're working this lateral line of the body, you're working into the big toe and keeping that and the deep front line working all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I try.
Anyone who's not watching this who's got serious issues, don't do this one, or do it in a very mild form. I mean, one could just do it in a sort of a very mild form. You know, if it's too challenging to do the full movement, you know, just do a little bit. Don't do the full bend. So only always the guidance is only work within the limits of where your body can actually hold alignment. And if you can't hold the alignment, if things start to displace, you know, take it back. So yeah, is that okay, Micah? Yeah. So don't stress your hips, please, because I know you've just been through things. So you okay there, Claire? Yep. Okay. One more go. So let's just lift the big toe and turn it out to the side. Stabilize and step forwards. And then finding that deep front line and the lateral line to turn the legs, to turn the hips. So you've very much got the heel, the inside heel driving back and the outside hip pushing forwards. The outside, the front hip is pulling back and the front heel is going forwards.
I have one more question.
Yes.
In doing the step forward,
Yes.
there is a small moment of momentum of falling forward.
Well, that's why I do the bend. Yes, there is.
Ah, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but because if I didn't do the bend, there would be.
Yeah.
That's why I bend it and step. So finding these stabilized hips, because this is the key to our stability when we start going forwards, is the inside heels and the deep front line. The adductors are going to be again working to keep those hips stable, and the lateral lines in the IT band. So now the the front knee comes forwards from behind and the arms come up. And the back leg doesn't move. The back hip really, as the leg comes forward, the back hip hardly moves. That's lovely. And now, again, keeping that coming forwards into the flat back by taking the iliacs up and back, and that will straighten the front leg. Keep those legs, keep the hips working though, so that the inside heels keep coming up and back and the outside of the hips keep coming back. The hips haven't displaced. Now use all your widening to go down into the forward bend as deep as is comfortable for you. And now have a go at the stitty in it. The head extends forwards to come back to the flat back. And you're keeping those legs engaged. You're keeping all the muscles of the legs engaged, and then come back to your knee. And then come back into the stitty. Again, keeping those legs, sending those legs into the ground, sending the heels down, keeping the alignment, keeping the hips screwed forwards in this way, and back down again. And again, just using the head to lead out, keeping the hips in alignment. And then as the body comes up, iliacs back to bring the body up, the front knee bends, and we come back to the archer. Beautiful. And then stepping back. Lovely. And again, give yourself a 3 to stabilize when you're there. 1, 2, 3, just to come out of the asymmetry of it. And then taking the other foot, lifting the big toe, swiveling on the heel, and bending the back leg to step forwards with the other leg. And working the deep front line and the lateral line in order to bring the hips square. Checking that your feet really are still a hip's width apart. I think mine would come across a bit. That's better. Now my hips will come round. And really making sure you've got this very, very solid base. And then let the front knee come forwards as we come forwards into the archer, but the back heel stays rooted, absolutely rooted. There's a real sense of lengthening down the back leg and down the back side of the hip. And then keeping that as the iliacs take you into the forward bend, into the flat back, and the front leg straightens. Again, the inside heels, the heels are still absolutely rooted, keeping that creative tension between the 2 feet. And then going over into the forward bend, everything widens to take you into the forward bend. Nothing displaces to right or left. Don't go further forwards than you can cope. And finding the stitty, the head leads, bring the arms up to the sides if you want, or leave the arms on the floor. And again, just use all the widening to come down. Make sure the hips are still square. And again, just finding that stitty. Breathing, you might come up on the in-breath and go down again on the out-breath. Because the out-breath is backing up, it will take the psoas backing up and help everything just lengthen backing up and let the head come lower. And then again, just take the head away, come back into flat back, keep that front hip going back and the back hip coming forwards, and that will help stabilize the body as you come up. And bending the front leg as you come up, which I just forgot to do, and then step back. Okay. Everyone okay after that? So, is everybody okay? Give me a thumbs up if you're okay. Yeah, good. So, can I take it one stage further and go wide? Great, good, thank you. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to do the lunges we did last week. So, I think it was last week, it was the week before. And we're going to go down into a lunge. So we're going to come into the forward bend, down into the lunge. Hang on, I'm at the wrong end of the mat. And then step back. So, and again, you can use your stitty here to lengthen your head away from your heels. We're going to add that thought. And then as you come back and up, the psoas is drawing you up and back. And the front leg, again, if you think these widening thoughts, you'll come over the front knee with the head, and the front leg straightens. So can you see it's basically the same movement that we're just doing, but now we're doing it in lunge. And then step back and we'll do it on the other leg. So let's do that one again, and then we're going to take that another stage. So we got the front of the mat. Again, give yourself a 3. 1, 2, 3. Fingertips leading, undersides of the fingertips leading, so that we come up without any displacement of the torso. The hands can come flying above the head, and then letting yourself come forwards into the forward bend, thinking those widening. The head leads, everything is widening down into the forward bend, and then into the flat back, and then widening, widening, widening to take you into the forward bend. and then your fingers come to the floor and step back. And your head will be down towards your knee, and then let the head in that lunge position, let your head sort of stitty forwards so that it lengthens, and the heel lengthens in the other direction. So we get a lovely lunge with a great straight line between the head and the heel. And just breathe there a moment, and being aware of that stretch in the groins when we get the heel going in one direction and the front knee coming forwards and the head coming forwards. And again, a tension between the 2 feet. And now thinking back and up. So back and up on the out breath, because we're not so much pushing back from the front leg to come up as drawing back and up from the psoas and the iliacs to take the front leg straight and to take us over that front knee. And then on the in-breath, taking the front knee and the head forwards, keeping that back heel back to come back into the lunge. Lovely. And then bounce the back leg to come back into forward bend and come up to standing again. We won't take the hands down, we'll leave them up and just come back into the forward bend and go down with the other leg. So iliacs back to come down, back into the forward bend and take the other leg back. Step back as far as you can. Use your head, your stitty to lead the upper body, following the head. The heel goes in the other direction, and between the two, the groins are, the legs are lengthened apart at the groins. Make sure that back leg doesn't turn out, that the heel is still in alignment. The big toe is slightly inwards, because if the back heel turns out, if the back heel falls in, you'll notice you get very different muscles. So you only get the real pull when the feet stay in alignment. Now on that next out breath, back and up, drawing back and up with the psoas and the iliacs, and the head can lengthen down over the front knee. And just breathe there a moment, widening into the back. And then let the front knee lead to take you forwards again, keeping that back foot in alignment, and then coming up again. So now this one's going to be quite challenging, so I'll demonstrate it first and see how it looks and see how you find it. So we're going to start in the same way, forward bend and coming back into the lunge. And again, always this stabilized lunge. Now we're going to start with heel away from head, of course. Now I'm going to lift the front arm so that I open the body that way, up and look up to the ceiling. And then I'm going to, again, the temptation to wobble, so see how much you can stabilize the hips. As you do this, it's harder to go the other way. And then I'm going to stabilize into the hips. I'm going to stabilize in the iliacs and see if I can really find that front leg on the ground and see if I can come up into a low archer without hands, and then see if I can pull from the inside to bring myself to that flat back and stay balanced, and then take the front knee forwards to come back into archer, and then put the hands back down. And I'm going to bunny hop the legs to change. So there's quite a lot of challenge here. So if you don't worry, if you can't do it, please don't damage yourself. See what you can do. You may find it easier to do it from a slightly less stretched. If you're very stretched out, it might be too challenging. So see how you go. Any questions? So we're going to just change legs and do the same again. So starting from the front of the mat and stabilizing with a 1, 2, 3. And bringing the hands above your head. And using the iliacs back to come down into flat back. And then rolling over into the forward bend. And stepping back with one foot. And using your, again, your stitty with the head and the heel going in the opposite direction to come back into a beautiful lunge. And now let's take the hand on the side of the back of the foot that's back out to the side, stabilize in the torso and the hips so that you can open the body into a lovely side twist and then come back again. And again, stabilize through those legs in the same way we've been doing to take the other hand round. You can never twist quite as far on the other side. And coming back again. Lovely. Now, for those who want to do that, if you don't want to do the next bit, then don't do it. But for those who can, stabilize into the hips, stabilize into the feet, and then see if you can lift your hands and lift your torso up off the leg. And then see if you can take your iliacs back and up to straighten the front leg, keeping that stability. And then take the front leg forwards again to come back with the body still up. That's marvelous. And then come back down to the lunge. Now, see if you can bunny hop. Just try the leg changes. Maybe do 3 of them. That's it. Just to establish you can do it. And now we've got the other leg forwards. Once you're ready. And we're ready again to take the head away from the heels to get that lovely stretch. And then take the leg, the hand that's on the side of the back foot out to the side, stabilizing through the legs, stabilizing through the groin, stabilizing through the hips so that you can let the torso open out without a wobble. And when you're ready, bringing that leg down, that hand down, sorry, and taking the other one up. And again, stabilizing through the body. And coming back. And then stabilizing through the body, stabilizing through the feet, and lifting the torso up off the leg. And then straighten the back leg. Into flat back. And then going forwards again into lunge, taking it in your own time. I'm actually fatiguing, so I'm actually going to be a bit quicker here. And then stepping in. Great. So let's just do some bounces to loosen out the hips. And you might just do some side to side. And shake the legs. So let's walk forwards into plank and back. So we're just going to just very simply go up into forward bend, into forward, again stabilize, come up into forward bend, or up with the arms rather, and then down into forward bend. And then again, as you walk forward into plank, it's tempting to sort of come onto either shoulder. But if you do from your, if you think of the hands coming forwards like a cat, so you think of the you think of the thumbs and the inside fingers coming forwards, then you can walk forwards into plank with hardly any tilting of the body. You can come down into plank. So how little can you sway the body as you step forward, as you walk forwards into plank? And then again, how much can you just push the fingers of one hand into the floor and maybe the heels away in the other direction so that you can flow back up again without distorting the body to left and right. Let's have another go at that. So just using those, brushing the fingertips forward, I'm just sort of uncurling the wrist and leading with the fingertips forward. And then you need to do very little sway with the body. You can really stabilize on each hand in turn as you come into the plank. And then again, by sending the heels away from the hand, the palm of the hand, you can again stabilize so that you hardly need to tilt as you come back up. And notice whether that has brought you into a deeper front bend than you had before. Everyone okay? Let's do that one more time. Just coming forwards, hand by hand, using that, all your arm lines. So we've got the front arm lines engaged up from the thumbs into the pectorals, and also the obliques are really working and the lateral lines are working. And now we can come up, we can send the weight into one hand and come up into a side plank. So that's it. We're in a lovely side plank. And then come back down again. Send the other palm, the knuckles down into the floor, the thumb down into the floor, the fingers down into the floor, and come up into the plank the other side. And then coming back down, and we're going to walk back up again by sending the heels away from the palms of the hand. And let's just do that again one more time. So again, stabilize everything. Hands come up, forward bend down, into flat back. Everything is engaged. Walking forwards. Keeping the heels away from the palms of the hand and the palms of the hand engaged, being aware of those inside arm lines as well as the outside arm lines. Come into plank, stabilizing into one hand, letting yourself come into side plank. And this time, if you can come right over and into back plank. So you can do a full turn onto a back plank. And then again, if you really stabilize into the next arm, you can come round back into side plank and come right over back into forward plank. That's it. And from there, stabilize into one hand, come up into side plank, come over, really stabilizing into your arm lines, keeping your iliacs back so that the body doesn't sag when we get into the back plank, and taking that hand, the next hand up into the air, back into side plank, back into forward plank. And at this point, I think let's go into child's pose and have a little rest. Just breathing into the back. Being aware of the head dropping away, forwards out of the shoulders. And the elbows dropping out and down. And we can just do that little stitty in this position like we've done before. Bringing the head up and then letting it down again. Stitties to bring the head up. Back, the crown of the head going away forwards and the occiput coming up to the ceiling. The whole spine is lengthened, but the iliacs stay back. The psoas stays back, so the hips stay back towards the heels. We're just letting the whole spine be lengthened up after the head. The back continues to widen through into the elbows. And then you can just let the head lead, start leading the body forwards, but the hips stay back as long as possible there, resisting coming forwards. You come up onto all fours. And from there, we can come back to standing and come back together. So, was that all right, or was I asking too much of you?
It's hard for my arms. I have not so much strong here in my muscles. Yes.
I'm having a tired day, so some of that was sort of feeling on the edge of my limits as well. Yeah.
I
So-
have a,
Mhm.
sorry,
Go
I
on.
was going to say I have an old, very old fracture on my left wrist, like 24, 5 years ago. But no matter how many times I go for side plank, nothing seems to change. It never seems to kind of, it gets very wobbly and uncomfortable. And I don't know, I wonder if that's just in my head that I feel it. I think of it as being strong, you know, so long ago, but just nothing seems to alter about it. So
Was it set? I mean, if it was a break, was it set right at the time?
I've no idea. It was set. Whether it was set right, I mean, maybe not. There is a very strange bump here and a slightly odd angle. So
Forgive it. Forgive
Yeah.
it. Who owns it? You know. I think we sort. I mean, I certainly have this ideal that I have a perfect body, but actually, you know, by the time we get to whatever age we are, you know, things have happened, and some things happened at birth. They've been out a long time, and that's what we're working with, isn't it? We're working within our limits, and it's good to respect those limits and see if they will heal. You know, if by thinking that into the thumb, you know, and into the forefingers and into the knuckles, maybe with time that will open up and it will balance. But who knows? It may or it may not. And all you can do is keep sending the directions, and either it will surprise you or it will carry on being wobbly. And if it's wobbly, you know, how else can you stabilize through the rest of the body? And just, you know, don't put yourself into a position where that wrist will actually fail.
Yeah, I feel so much stronger in just regular plank with both hands and toning everything up. It feels, you know, lovely, strong feeling. But yeah, it feels like, well, I'll just keep seeing what happens over time. It's not like it's my life's desire to be able to do it, but
You want to stand on one hand upside down and a handstand on the edge of a cliff. I know.
those days are gone.
Those guys who do that on YouTube, it's like, wow. Anadora.
I have, oh, wait, hang on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good.
Okay, sorry. Once a colleague said that his yoga teacher said if you have like a plank position, your fingers should be turned slightly out. What do you think about that? So when we do this, moving forward into the plank with pulling back in the iliac spine and going back again, back and forth, is it like the fingers straight or a bit turned out or turned in? Any suggestions about the direction of the fingers?
I don't know. I think let's play and find out. What I'm remembering, as you say, is that when one does work with Jando with the hands say, against the wall,
Yes.
he gets one to put the thumbs up.
So
So
it's slightly turned out actually.
So it may be because that's the ulnar deviation, and that maybe I've missed something there.
Yeah.
So we do. If you have another go at this, maybe try it with the hands on in ulnar deviation and see what happens. And let's all feedback on the Facebook page how we find that, whether it actually makes a difference or whether, yeah. And it may just bring in something different. I don't know. Does anyone else know anything about that?
No, but the other one I've heard is the rotation, yoga teacher saying the rotation of the upper arm. That and there and in dog as well.
Yeah.
And that seems sort of opposite in a way to our elbows direction. So
But there may be something in it, because if the rotation out is the primary, and then one thinks a rotation in the other way within the context of that, which actually would go with that forward there. So if you bring that round and then bring that one the other way, you do actually put a rotation that way as well as rotation that way, and that may actually be bringing in a lot more strength to the hands. So yes, let's play with that again. Does that make sense to you?
So no, it seems to fit with the ulnar deviation.
That's right, because like the legs, we want the spiral going in both directions for the strength of it. And I think if that goes that way and then that goes that way, that would give us that.
It feels like a spiral like that. Like, oh, too many spirals.
Yes, because we want that.
With the thumb forward, it's the front line coming into play, and I think it's very important.
Oh yes, it is very important. Yes, and we want that front line in play, but not at the expense of the back line, which is why we need that one, but then we need that one as well. So it may well be that the upper arm is coming that way, but the lower arm is coming the other way. And I've missed a trick in directing you there. So I'm still learning this stuff too. Yes. Yeah.
I think the thing with plank is that we have weight on our hands, and if we have this alignment of the arms of the Jando pulls, we end up having the hands slightly turned out. But if we put weight on it, we tend to then lose the elbow turned being in the placement. So it's really, I think it's good to play with it, with putting a little weight on it and keeping this whole alignment of the arm alive, and then finding the placement of the hand. Otherwise, because of the weight, it's very easy to lose lose stability in the arm and in the back, and the two lines inside and
stability in the back is primary.
Yes,
that has to be the primary, because we've got to keep the torso, and then the limbs come out of the back. Yeah.
But with both, with the thumb forward and the elbow out, it feels exactly like what you were guiding us with the legs to stabilize, with the inner line and the outer line. It's exactly the same, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. Yes, I think it would be. That's right. So it's
like putting a drill on it somehow on the whole arm.
That double twist, just like we have on on the leg where one bit's going one way and the other bit's going the other way, and we're getting this counter twist, which actually creates real stability. How did you find that in the archer? Could you find the stability then in the archer when you really sent the heels down and they found those two lines? Could you then keep the stability as you came up and down with the torso? Yeah.
I wanted to say something to that. When we did it the second time, I exactly realized what I missed doing, which was an old habit of when I go into forward bend to lose the lower back and to just collapse over it. And when I then try to come up from that, then everything collapses underneath. So I found that out. But the other one I wanted to say is that what I liked in the last sessions was that we build up spatial awareness and breathing and all that in standing, which gave me personally another access to find clarity within my body. And now we did it in lying down, and it was just as a feedback. It wasn't so clarifying for my system to access how to do all this challenging stuff.
Yes, because we went straight into it. Is anyone else aware of that one, that we could have actually done some more spatial awareness standing first? I wanted to get onto the fun stuff.
For me, it was going a bit too quickly today. I was just not following up. So just too much and too quickly, but maybe just me. So I was just like being behind all the time.
It was definitely more than last times.
Yeah,
I would say.
I'll do a gentle one next time.
I quite like the lying down first. For me, I can overdo things too easily, and having time to breathe and allow the breath to allow that internal psoas, lower body work, makes it a lot easier for me to soften into it rather than to just go.
Yes.
So yeah, I have the opposite.
That's good, because that's what I wanted today, because I knew we were going to be really challenging those muscles. So I wanted to find them in a gentle way first.
Yeah.
That worked. Yeah, Chris?
For me, the pace was great.
Yes, but of course you're English.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I say, and the people who are struggling are working in a second language. So
Yeah.
yes, thank you.
Yeah. Sometimes when you say this is out and this is there and this heel, just my brain needs more time to. Okay, you really just to think slowly. Okay, this is in and this is out. To just to transfer it to where it has to go to, and then we're already it's a bit too far. Yeah.
Apologies for that.
Yeah, I really have to. Yeah, then it's just meaningless words, and I can't see the picture anymore.
With me, it's sometimes not clear which is a movement and which is a direction.
Yes,
And so I think it's the same what Anador says.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I try to look on the screen, which is in some positions not.
what we'll do is we'll come back to these moves in subsequent weeks.
Yeah.
You get a second go at them, and you
Yeah.
have one go, and because they are challenging, and I did want to sort of get the picture of them today, but we'll come back to them, just like we came back to the lunge today, and we've come back to the plank again, and so we're building up pictures. So there were some really challenging things there that were new today. And yeah, I'm still impressed at how well you do it. I mean, it's a tribute to this work, at how well we can throw something like that at you, and you can do it, and you can stabilize in it. And I think if we didn't know what muscles to engage, I think we'd be all over the shop for a lot longer. I don't know whether other people think that. I don't know whether this is just me, because I know how much I struggled to find these things, say 5 or 6 years ago. And now they just come because I've got the pulse. So I don't know whether everyone else, whether you would agree with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would agree from doing exercises all over my life and thinking about all these questions, and nobody was guiding me exactly.
Yeah.
And how the way you do it makes totally sense. So I was looking for something. Is it small differences, small adjustments?
Yeah. Yeah, and the number of websites of trainers I've been on, because they say, we will guide you exactly. And they just say, go into upward dog, go into downward dog. Hey, you call that guidance? There's none there whatsoever. Yeah, so I've tried a few websites that claim to guide and they don't. Yeah. So Anadora, you wanted to.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that for me it makes absolutely sense, and it gives much more clarity to all that yoga stuff I've done in the past. One question I have, what about the last thing that we did when we were being in lunge with the legs heel back and the knee forward, and then coming up with the torso, and you were, I don't quite remember, I'm gonna watch it again, but to come up, do you come up by pulling the iliacs back and really keeping that space in the lower back, or do you come up by letting the crown lead? And
well, it's a bit of both, but it's powered up from that lower body.
So you really keep the distance between the front leg and the iliacs?
Yes, absolutely. You're taking the iliacs back strongly in order to take the torso back. It's like coming out of flat back.
Yes, but there should be no hanging into the hips, right? It should be really like the front leg is absolutely holding the whole thing, and then your torso comes up with a big gap in between.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yes, and some days I can do it more easily than others, and today actually wasn't very impressive. But okay, too. I can have weekdays too. So yeah, Hannes.
I love observing how the body is learning. So, for example, lifting the arms without arching the back. You guided us a few times through that, and now you say it quick as a reminder, and the body knows how to do it.
You do.
Yeah, and also coming back from the ribs and from the iliac spines, and yeah, it's similar to music. So you practice very slow in the beginning, and one moment the brain, it's settled and you can do it. Yeah, it's very similar.
Good. So I've been hoping that would build, that I didn't, that's true for everybody, isn't it? You've all got that stabilizing, and up come the arms. It certainly looked like it. I was watching everybody and the arms were just flying up. Yeah, so yeah, we are already further on than we were 5 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's very clear to see the change in giving directions, and to notice, oh, it's much easier now, or it's much more stable, and it's becoming clearer. Yeah.
And probably if some of those moves were unfamiliar today, if you do them 2 or 3 times, it's amazing how the muscles would click in, probably, because everything is there. But you can click into your where the muscles are at for you. But it's, I really do believe at this point the muscles are all there. All we've got to do is access them. We don't have to do this. You've got to do hours of pounding in order to build the muscles up. They're just there. Am I right here? Does everyone else see this? Yeah. Claire, what do you think?
Oh, I kind of don't know about that. I was just, thinking about my very long hike I did at the weekend with a very heavy weight, and thinking I probably should have built that up a bit more slowly.
Sorry, what was the hike?
A big hike with carrying tent and overnight gear. Right. Thinking I should have built that up more slowly, so which is maybe a slightly different.
Yes.
Thing.
I think when it comes to weights, that really does then show up the limitation on the body.
Or distance, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the stamina in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think you're right about the kind of body's ability to be able to go and do those different things, definitely.
Yeah. Yes, and we did 2 side planks. If we were, army recruits, we'd be doing 100 either side. Yeah. Okay. Oh, great. So thank you all. Any more comments before we finish? Did you enjoy that?
Apart from being behind all the time, I enjoyed it.
Okie doke. So see you in 2 weeks. Yeah. And, if anyone has
Hey,
any
thank you, Penelope.
they want to work through, then do let me know if you've got something you really have a desire to do burpees or something. Let me know. Yeah. Okay. All the best.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Very much.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.